Hello everyone, what's up? It's me again, Junkmaster3. And first of all, I would like to say sorry that I haven't posted anything almost 2 weeks. It's been quite hectic weeks, to be honest. I've been sick with one of my diseases, and if you wonder why I look really weird in the face, like really red and stuff, I think that's also because of the medication I take. So yeah, so that's really been the reason why I have been quite absent from YouTube for about 2 weeks. So, but anyway, this is going to be the top five of the month for the month of July, which means for those of you who follow my videos, it's going to be the best five films I've watched during the month of July for the very first time. So yeah, so let's begin with the top five. First of all, at number five, we have a film from 2015 called The Resort, and you spell that with a Z in resort. Uh, and obviously, if you haven't guessed it already, it's a zombie film. And I have to say, I was quite surprised of how how cool and good this film really was. Because usually when it comes to newer zombie films, they always seems to have that typical rule that they have to have a bunch of like comedy shoved into it. And I was very surprised on the DVD cover because usually when you watch a newer zombie film, they always quote Shaun of the Dead all the time, and that really like pissed me off to a certain degree. Don't get me wrong, I think Shaun of the Dead is a good film, but it's like, why would you shove that on almost every single like DVD copy of like newer zombie films? So yeah, but that's just my personal opinion. But The Resort, it's really like the best way to describe it is really like it's sort of like Jurassic Park, but with zombies instead of dinosaurs. That's really the best way to describe it. So if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and give it a shot. I really enjoyed it. I gave it an 8 out of 10. So yeah. And then at number four, we have The Taking of Pelham 123 from 1974, directed by Joseph Sargent. I'm not really sure how you pronounce his name, but and yeah, obviously it's the original one because I know there is like a remake which came out in like 2008 or 2009. I'm so glad I watched the original one because sometimes when if you don't look too much into the films before you watch them, I usually want to avoid any type of spoilers or details among the films. But one thing that I really want to know before I watch a film is if it's a remake or an original film, because usually I want to watch the original before I watch the remake. So, but obviously this is a classic, really entertaining, like about these criminals going around like having kidnapping and hostages and stuff. Great characters and great acting, and I love the police officers in the films or like the detectives. I think they were really clever and really funny to a certain degree as well. So yeah, also this is another 8 out of 10. And then at number three, we have a film which I felt like I should probably had watched a long time ago. I mean, this is like, I think this is considered not classic. That sounds really weird because this is a fairly new film from 2007, but still, it's among those films that are very well known. And I'm sort of surprised that I have not seen this film up until recently. So, and the film at number three is Wreck, the found footage film, the Spanish found footage film. I think most people probably already know about this film, but I would say, along with maybe like, I'm not really sure if I should categorize Cannibal Holocaust as a found footage. It's technically like the first found footage film, I believe. But I would say, among the newer ones, I would say Wreck and Blair Witch Project are like the two best found footage films or found footage horror films, if you don't count Cannibal Holocaust. But yes, if you like Blair Witch Project, you would probably like this one as well. It's sort of like Blair Witch but with zombies in it instead of like witch and stuff. So yeah, I think I probably mentioned too much of Wreck because I think obviously most people have probably seen those films by now. It's just me that has been lazy and I haven't watched them yet. So, but anyway, Wreck, really entertaining film, great. I give it an 8 out of 10. I also watched the sequels, Wreck 2, 3, and 4. Thought 2 was really good as well. 3, I've heard a bunch of people really bashing a whole lot of. I do not understand why people don't like part 3. I think part 3 is really great, even though it doesn't really have that same found footage style to it. I thought it was really clever because at least they tried to move away from the original source material to a certain degree because it's sort of like a stand alone type of film. Part 4 is sort of like a continuation of part two in a way. I think part four was my least favorite among all the Rec films, but yeah, overall I thought those films were really entertaining. So yeah, if you like found footage, go ahead and give them a watch. But keep in mind, if you watch all of the films, part three is not really that much found footage, and neither are Rec 4. So yeah, that's about it. Yeah, Rec 3. Rec 3. Rec, Rec, the first one at number 3. That's what I want to say, sorry. And then at number 2, I went back to a director that almost never disappoints me. He always delivers when it comes to his films overall. I don't think I've seen any film that I've seen by this guy director that have been bad in any way. So the film is called Lesson of the Evil from 2012, and it is directed by one of my favorite directors, Takashi Miike. And it's sort of like it's like about this school that gets this teacher basically wants the students to stop bullying each other because it's been a big problem in this school that there's been a bunch of bullying and it almost never stops. And then one day this teacher just absolutely loses it all and he just flips and goes crazy basically. I would say the downside to this film is really the first act of the film, or maybe like the mid section of the film, which feels a little bit too long. That's really one of the only criticisms I have of this film or Takashi Miike films in general, that they tend to go along for a little too long. I could have probably shortened it down maybe like 15 minutes or so for better pacing. But once the whole thing really kicks in, you're like, wow, this is gruesome and this is really amazing. But yeah, if you like Takashi Miike and you know about the director, give this one a shot. I would say don't watch this if this is your first Takashi Miike film. I would say go instead watch maybe Itchy the Killer or Audition, and you will get a whole lot of ideas of what type of material this director works with. So yeah, those are the films that I recommend for first time viewers of Takashi Miike. So yeah, but anyway, Lesson of the Evil from 2012 at number 2. And at number 1, we have a Western film. This is the only video. This is the only film on this list that I gave 9 out of 10. The other ones I gave 8 out of 10. But I've found out that I've been giving a whole lot of like high ratings on westerns lately. I mean, maybe I'm just getting more and more into that genre in general. But yeah, at number 1 we have Sabata from 1969, and it really feels like the 60s were like the best time for western films in general. Then up until like the mid 70s, it seems like they just took a downhill, took a turn from top to downhill in a way. And yeah, if you haven't seen this film and you're a Western fan, go check it out right away. You would not be disappointed. It's basically about Lee Van Cleef's character, and he teams up with this alcoholic guy. I can't remember the character's name, but he's quite funny because it just seems like he teams up with Sabata or Lee Van Cleef just because he was desperate. But it's kind of like a fun thing. I would say, even though Lee Van Cleef is like the highlight of the film, all of these side characters in the film are really memorable as well and very well written. So I really appreciated the side characters as well because they have some really funny dialogue and funny scenes among them. So yeah, anyway, Sabata at number 1, really entertaining. I also watched the other 2 Sabata films, Adios Sabata and Return of Sabata. Adios Sabata does not have Lee Van Cleef in it. It has he's replaced by Yul Brynner, and then Lee Van Cleef comes back to Return to Sabata, and I would say the third one is the weakest one. I thought it was kind of lackluster. Surprisingly, because I thought I would like the third one more than the second one just because it had Lee Van Cleef in it and Yul Brynner was like a replacement actor in the second one or something. I'm not really sure why Lee Van Cleef said no to that film. I don't really know, but yeah, the first 2 are really entertaining. I think the second one is very underrated. I could have ended up in this list, but I just felt, well, why should I put 2 Sabata films on the list? So well, that's about it for the top 5 of the month for the month of July. Next video is probably going to be a ranking video, top 10 video, maybe an update video, and who knows, we'll see. I have a bunch of films, like, I mean, sometimes I just really forget about what films I've showed you. So maybe sometimes when in update videos I've probably already showed some of them, but that's just my memory. My memory is really the worst, really. So, but anyway, enough about that. That's the video for today, and yeah, keep your eyes open for the next video, and yeah, see you next time. Bye bye.